This is the new Apple MacBook Pro with the M2 chip. With a 13-inch screen, it's the smallest, most powerful computer from Apple right now. You can choose this MacBook in various configurations. And in this series, I'm going to show you everything about this computer, from unboxing, specifications, connectivity, demos, and upgrading repair capabilities, to know everything about this computer. But first, subscribe to the channel because I post new videos every week. This is the new 13-inch MacBook Pro, still sealed in the plastic, the latest model from Apple with the M2 chip. Let's first see the specs on the box. Here at the back you have the label with the information. Let's see how powerful is this computer. To ensure this MacBook Pro was never been opened, it comes sealed in a plastic, and you have to pull this tab to tear it open. We pulled and ripped the plastic, and now we just have to remove the plastic all the way around, which also protects the printing on the box. Now, without the plastic, the computer is ready for unboxing. If we get close to see the label, it is a 13-inch MacBook Pro model A2338, and the specs of this model: MacBook 13.3 SPG with an M2 chip, 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 24 GB of RAM, 512 GB of SSD storage, and the keyboard features. This is a super powerful computer from Apple, with the best configuration of this model. Great for work, production and processing. But let's see in detail the specifications of the model we chose. So, about the technology, it has an Apple M2, a maximum clock speed of 3.5 GHz, with an 8-core CPU, 4 performance cores, and 4 high-efficiency cores. The graphics processor has 10 cores, 24 GB, DDR5 RAM at 6400 MHz, 2 TB NVMe storage, a 13-inch Liquid Retina XDR display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600 pixels. It has a backlit QWERTY keyboard with function keys, fingerprint reader with Touch ID, touch bar for tactile interaction, a 720p FaceTime camera, a built-in microphone with directional beamforming technology, stereo speaker system with high dynamic range, a 67-watt power charger, a battery of 60 watts-hour with an autonomy of 20 hours watching movies and 17 hours using Wi-Fi, and comes with the operating system macOS Ventura. This computer has the connectivity Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0, 2 Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports compatible with charging, DisplayPort, Thunderbolt 4 40 gigabits, USB 4 40 gigabits, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. The physical characteristics of this computer: the screen is anti-glare with a diagonal of 13.3 inches. The computer measures 0.61 by 11.97 by 8.36 inches and weighs 3 pounds. The color can be space gray or silver, and the material of the structure is aluminum. Regarding the repairability, the SSD is on board, the Wi-Fi card is on board, the RAM memory is on board, and the processor socket is BGA. Almost everything is soldered on the motherboard, but you can see that in the video where I open the computer. Now the features it doesn't have, which can be an important factor when choosing a computer. So it doesn't have a touchscreen, you can't replace the RAM memory, nor replace or expand the storage, no M.2 or SATA connection, no USB Type-A ports, no RJ45 port to connect a network cable, no DisplayPort or mini DisplayPort. This model also does not have an HDMI port, no physical privacy shutter for the camera, no DVD player, no hole for a Kensington lock. And it doesn't have a MagSafe port for charging. The 13-inch model has to charge via USB-C. But the connectivity it doesn't have, you can try to solve with adapters. Let's see in more detail the specifications of the processor. It has a Apple M2 chip with a maximum speed of 3.5 GHz. The CPU has 8 cores, 4 performance cores and 4 power efficiency cores. The GPU has 10 cores and the neural engine has 16 cores. Supports a maximum memory of 24 GB, compatible with LPDDR5 6400 memory in quad channel. Of cache memory has 16 MB L2 and 8 MB L3, with a 5nm lithography and a minimum TDP of 20 watts. And for now, that's all I have to say about this MacBook Pro specs and technology, but you can choose the best configuration for your work, and the price can vary from $2,000 to $8,000. Let's start by looking what's inside the box. So we lift the lid, and here we have the 13-inch computer. Later we'll measure, see all the connectivity and features. The computer comes protected in a piece of paper, which we are about to remove, but now let's just put it here. In the box there's also a charging cable, USB-C to USB-C, because this model does not have a MagSafe socket. We have more stuff here, a little box with information, some leaflets, like the user guide, how it works, the computer technology, features and warranty. And the traditional stickers with the Apple logo. This one isn't black, it's in gray. We'll see in detail later. And finally, we have the charger, which is a USB-C charger to connect this cable. In my case, it has a European plug, but that plug will depend on the country you buy it. It also comes protected with paper. We'll tear it off, but later I will talk about all the specifications of this transformer. Nothing else comes in the box, and we can close the box for now. Let's take the paper off the computer to reveal the beauty of this computer. Just pull the tab and the paper comes off easily. Here's the computer, sidereal gray with the Apple logo. So in the box we have a MacBook Pro, we have a USB-C to USB-C power and data cable, a power transformer for charging, some flyers and the stickers. That's all that comes in the box of this 13-inch MacBook Pro computer with the M2 chip. Let's see in detail everything that came inside the box. Let's start with the accessories and then we'll spend more time looking at the computer in detail. We have already seen the type of accessories that are included. Let's start with the package. It has 2 stickers with the Apple logo in gray. Let's take out everything that comes inside the package. There are some leaflets and documentation. There's nothing else inside, so we have some information leaflets, information about the warranty in several languages. We also have a small user guide. It has the computer layout with all the computer interfaces, connections, camera, interaction with the operating system, how it charges, connecting the headphones, the keyboard, so the computer introductory information. Let's keep that here to see the charging part. For charging the computer, we have a charging brick plus a USB-C cable. Let's start with the power transformer. The color is piano white. In my case, it came with a European plug and it connects to the computer via USB-C. This plug can be removed and you can connect another plug from another country or directly connect other cable to these connectors. And it works the same way. So it's modular, standard from Apple. This is a 67-watt transformer via USB-C. This model is the A2518. Let's see the specifications of the transformer. It receives AC power between 100 and 240 volts, and then you can charge at 67 watts, 45 watts, 27 watts or 15.6 watts. With this power supply, you can charge your MacBook, iPad or iPhone, depending of the device you are charging. We can see the power supply output. It has an output of 20.3 volts, 3.3 amps, or 15 volts, 3 amps, or 9 volts, 3 amps, or 5.5 volts, 3 amps. With this transformer, you will be able to charge various types of devices. It is a little bit heavy. It has a width of 2.9 inches or 7.3 centimeters, a height of 2.9 inches, and a thickness of 1 inch or 2.7 centimeters. So it is a transformer that will suit charging for various devices. The USB-C cable is not only used for charging, but also can be used to transfer data. Let's open the cable to see the materials and the length of the cable. We take out this cardboard that holds it. We have already seen that is a USB-C to USB-C cable. Therefore, either you plug this plug into the charger or the computer, it doesn't matter. It's the same on both sides. It's a male-to-male plug. Let's unwind the cable. It comes well wrapped. The plug is coated with hard plastic, with piano white plastic. So here we have the cable, and we are going to measure the cable. We place the measuring tape at one end, and we unwind the cable, and also pulling the measuring tape along the cable. We continue to pull. The cable is long, and with this cable completely extended, is exactly 80 inches or 2 meters. 80 inches long, 2 meters long. It will be useful for most situations, to connect to the power and charge the computer, or to connect the computer to transfer data, because it is USB-C to USB-C cable. And now let's look at the computer, the MacBook Pro. Let's see it physically, and later I'll go into detail about all the specifications. So, it's all aluminum. It has a 13.3-inch screen with the Apple logo on the back of the screen, which is no longer backlit, but it looks like a mirror, which looks really nice. On the front, we don't have any connectivity, which we can open with just one finger, which we'll test it later, because it has that special touch from Apple. On the left side of the computer, we have the USB-C connectivity to USB-C, Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4 plugs. It does not have the MagSafe connection for charging. On the right side of the computer, there is only one connector to connect the headphones, and there is no more connectivity on the computer. There's nothing on the back either. If we turn it around, here on the back, the part that rotates to open the screen, we can see some openings, which are for the ventilation of the computer to cool it down. On the bottom, let's turn the computer to see. It has printed the product information. It has 4 rubber feet to place the computer on the table. It can be pushed, and the aluminum body does not scratch the table, nor does the table scratch the computer, because it is all aluminum with 4 hard rubber feet. It is screwed with very, very small Torx screws. Therefore, it is a computer with little connectivity due to its size. The other models have more connectivity, as I already shown in unboxings of other MacBook Pro models. Let's turn on the computer. We place the computer on the table, and as expected, we should be able to lift the screen with just one finger. So if I pull the screen in this slot, I can lift the screen and open with just one finger. So let's see what it's like inside. We have a 13-inch screen that doesn't seem to be anti-glare, but it is a XDR Retina display. This 13-inch model has a touch bar and also has Touch ID on the power button. It has a QWERTY keyboard, common in portable computers. It has a very large trackpad. It is super silent and has very vibrant colors. But later I will explore all the details, all the technology and the physical characteristics of this computer. I'm going to measure the computer to give you an idea of the dimensions. It has a reference of 13 inches, but the screen actually has 13.3 inches. But the width of the computer is 11.8 inches or 30 centimeters, a height of 7.9 inches or 20 centimeters, and a length of 7.9 inches. The trackpad, it has a width of 5.1 inches, you can compare to my hand, and a height 3.1 inches or 13 by 8 centimeters. Let's put the computer on its side to see the thickness of the computer. We can see the thickness of the screen, which is very thin. It's only about 0.12 inches or less, about 3 millimeters or less. It's a little curved on the back, so it's more difficult to measure. If I close the screen, with the screen closed, it's between 0.39 and 0.59 inches, or between 1 and 1.5 centimeters. It's difficult to measure because the curvature. We have already seen that it is a very small computer with only 3.3 pounds or 1.4 kilograms. And these are the measurements and weight of the computer. The material of the structure is almost all recycled aluminum, but both the computer part and the screen part, it's all made with aluminum, and that is very good for the planet. You can see the back of the screen is aluminum, recycled from other computers. The keys are plastic, very thin keys. The screen has a glass film, therefore most of the computer is composed of aluminum, but also with plastic and glass parts. The design of this computer is typical of Apple, similar to other MacBook Pro computers with the M1 or Intel processor. It's a very recognizable computer from Apple. The chassis is exactly the same as the computer with the M1 chip, the previous model. This model has the new M2 chip. Therefore, you have seen the design of the computer, which is very similar to other Apple computer models. Anyone who is an Apple fan will like this design, because they maintain the same traditional design line like the other MacBooks that the Apple customers are expecting. About the connectivity, I will show the physical connections that this computer has. The speed and compatibility I will show in the video of the specifications. On the left side of the computer we have two USB-C interfaces, Thunderbolt 4 and USB 4. But it also serves for charging the computer. This model does not have a MagSafe socket. You can use any of the connections for power. On the right side we just have one more connection, 3.5mm plug, to connect headphones or earphones or a sound system. The computer doesn't have any other physical connections. This 13-inch computer also has a touch bar, which allows several interactions through this small tactile screen. Depending on the program you are using, just press to interact. On the power button, it also has Touch ID, which is a fingerprint reader to recognize the user's fingerprint, and so authorize various features you need on the computer. Regarding the physical connectivity of the computer, it has two USB-C ports, which are Thunderbolt 4 and USB 4, which allows for charging and data transfer. I can use these USB-C connections for charging. I can connect the power adapter to a power source, and then I connect the USB-C cable to the computer, and thus it allows charging the computer through the USB-C plug. But also I can use another USB-C cable for data transfer. I plug it into the computer and I can transfer data, for example, from the iPhone, or plug in another USB-C device like peripherals or storage devices. I have this USB-C memory drive, which I can connect in the same connection I use for energy. And so I connect the memory drive on the computer to copy data. Therefore, the USB-C connections can be used for charging, copying data, or connecting devices. One small possible issue with the USB-C connectivity that I noticed during the demo is how close the connections are to each other. When I try to connect two USB-C devices, it may not be able to connect to both ports at the same time. I have this storage device here, which is a little bit wider than the regular connector, so if I plug this cable for charging, and now I tried plugging in this flash drive, you can see that I cannot fully connect it. It hits the other connector, so two flash drives will not do for sure. One charging cable and one flash drive, perhaps. It will depend on the thickness of the flash drive. But two normal USB-C cables, you should have no problem connecting. You should pay attention to the devices you'll need to connect to the USB-C connections, because not all USB-C cables are the same. This flash drive is wider, and due to the distance between the USB-C connections, you may not be able to connect a second device, depending on the size of the first one that is already connected. For interaction with this computer, it has a QWERTY keyboard, it has a touch bar, a touch ID, and a multi-touch trackpad that I can use with one finger, two fingers, or three fingers for various functions. But it also has a webcam on this bezel on the top of the display that you almost can't see as a camera and as a brightness sensor. The computer also has a high-quality built-in stereo microphone. These are the various technologies for interaction with this 13-inch MacBook Pro. Let's now explore the keyboard to see in detail. This is a QWERTY keyboard. It doesn't have a numeric keypad. The number keys are in this row at the top. There is a delete key at the end of the line, and the enter key, it has 4 directional keys, half of the height, to fit in this space. And then there are some special keys. It has the function key, control, option, and command key. On this side, there is another command and option key. The trackpad, which is this area, to interact with the computer and control the mouse pointer, it's multi-touch. And it's force touch. Multi-touch because it allows interaction with multiple fingers. You can control with just one finger, 2 fingers, or 3 fingers. This allows you to make different interactions and control elements or features of the application. This will depend on the application you are using or the operating system. But it is also force touch, which means it's sensitive to pressure. The force that we exert when pressing the finger, it can detect if I'm giving a little touch or I'm pressing hard. This can be useful in many applications, such as design programs that need to use the pressure to change the intensity of the tool. This 13-inch model also has a touch bar, and it is this bar here, which allows interaction and seeing the buttons. Now it's off, but if I tap it, it turns on, and now, in this case, you can control the brightness or sound. But the buttons that appear will depend on the application you are using. Each application has specific buttons for control. And there is one more special button, which I absolutely can't do without, which is the power button. But it's not just a power button. This button is a Touch ID, which means it has a fingerprint reader. So, if I want to authenticate myself, I simply put my finger on the button and the system recognizes my fingerprint and authenticates me without me having to log in or write passwords. With just one touch, I avoid putting my credentials and it's much more efficient. Who is this MacBook Pro notebook aimed at? It is for the general consumer, anyone, the majority of Apple clients, because with an M2 processor, this computer is capable of doing any task in any program quickly without any problems. But with a size of 13 inches, it makes it ideal for the customer who wants to close the computer and transport it in the backpack, like, for example, a college student. With an M2 chip, this model is the lowest in the MacBook models, but it is superior to most portable computers available on the market. It is not an M2 Pro, Max or Ultra, but the M2 chip can satisfy more than 95% of Apple customers. The amount of memory and internal storage, you can choose up to 96 GB of memory or 8 TB of NVMe storage. This will have to be selected when choosing the specifications of the computer. The positive aspects of this computer. It has an M2 processor, Apple's latest and most powerful. Very important, it has a Touch ID on the power button that reads the fingerprint, and so I don't need to put a password or identify myself to log in. I simply touch with my finger. The webcam also has facial recognition. I can open the computer and it recognizes me. Something I still use is the 3.5mm audio connection for plugging headphones, because I use wired headphones. Still useful to me. On this side of the computer, the USB connections are compatible with USB 4, Thunderbolt 4 and charging. Another very important thing is the battery time. It has a battery time of 21 hours or 17 hours when using Wi-Fi. The negative aspects. There are two aspects related to connectivity. First, not having an SD or MicroSD card reader. As I work with memory cards for other devices, I need to connect the cards on the computer to read or copy data to the cards. But it also doesn't have an HDMI connection, so I can connect an external monitor. Sometimes I want to connect a second monitor on the table or connect a larger monitor. It doesn't have a specific HDMI connection for that, so I need to use a USB-C adapter. But it is understandable that this computer, so thin, no longer has other connections. For example, an HDMI connection, as it is a little big and does not fit because this computer is too thin. I understand it's missing. But they still could have put a small slot for a microSD card reader, which I think would have space to put it, because it doesn't take much space. It's less than 1 mm. How to open to repair the computer. This is possible, but it's not easy. If I turn the computer over to look underneath, you can see that it's closed with screws all the way around, but they are Torx screws, extremely small. You will need to have very small tools, which are not easy to find, but it is possible to open. You can see this groove here. That's why this whole part will detach and you'll be able to access the inside of the computer. But it's not easy, because the computer it's not made to be repaired by the user. Regarding the upgrade of this computer, if you want to put more memory, change the memory or put a bigger NVMe storage module, that will not be possible, because both the RAM memory and the storage SSD are chips soldered onto the motherboard. The common user will not be able to change that. It will have to be done by someone specialized, like an Apple employee or a computer technician. If you want a computer with more memory or more storage, you must choose that when you buy the computer. When you choose those specifications with the amount of memory and storage you want in the computer, because you will not be able to do this upgrade later. The only thing you will be able to do when open the computer, after removing the screws, this back cover comes out. The only thing you'll be able to do is repair or replace the speakers. The most common thing is to clean the computer, because over the years the computer will accumulate dust, which prevents the computer from effectively ventilating. Then blow the dust and clean the heatsink, fans and the computer board. That's the only maintenance you'll traditionally be able to do on a computer like this, because this computer is not made to be repaired or upgraded. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be using this computer, and eventually I'm going to make more videos to show the potential and the power of this computer. And eventually I could find negative aspects about the computer, and I will later make specific videos about those situations, because now I need to use it to see if I like it, if I don't like it, or if this could be my new favorite computer of all time. This was another video about the 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro, but there will be more videos about this computer, from unboxing, specifications, connectivity and demos, to know everything about this computer, and you can decide if this is the best computer for you. But I have on the channel other MacBooks M1 and M2 with different specifications if you want to compare other models. Now, subscribe to the channel because I post new videos every week, like the video, and if you have any questions, write in the comments.